Happy 420 2024 from Bunny and me. So we're gonna do show you my cannabis plants as usual, and then we're gonna take a little trip in the time machine 6 years ago. And in my state, they're doing like a pilot research program. You're able to put in your application and start growing the hemp, and you're supposed to study for something like either you're researching, like, say, the effects of growing under different spectrum of light, like, say, warmer light versus cooler light, or like growing it aquaponically versus out in the field. February 21st, 2018, and I've got an update for you on my business getting going and my hemp application. So let's get into it. First thing I want to show you is that my application has been approved. Okay, we're back to 2024, 420. It should be noted that I held a regular New York State nursery grower registration certificate that came with inspections from the agricultural department on the plants that I was growing to sell, whatever, from May of 2015 all the way through May of 2019. Every time that inspector would come around, I'd ask her when New York's going to have a cannabis program. I became Industrial Hemp Research Partner authorized in February of 2018 in New York State, and that was expired on January 2022. First, I'm going to read for you the New York State Hemp Research Plan of mine. Good day, all. This is a very exciting time in America and New York. I appreciate this opportunity to research and develop industrial hemp, cannabis with New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. My main focus will be development and propagation of CBD-rich variety of hemp. I will be obtaining varieties such as Otto 2, Otto 2X ACDC, and ECO1 from sources within United States to start with. I will test cannabis growth under different lighting types and spectrums. I will also test different grow methods and mediums. Closed loop grow systems will be studied over time using worm and fish to fertilize hemp plants and feeding plants to worms and fish. Plants will be kept in vegetative growth state. That's key. And pruned back regularly. Growth and health of both plants and animals will be considered. Control groups will be fed non-cannabis vegetation such as sunflower microgreens, while experimental group will be fed hemp and/or a 50-50 blend of sunflowers and hemp in equal weight portions as control group. CBD and THC content will be tested. All research will initially be done in a greenhouse. All parts of plants will be used. Research will be documented in writing and on video. Grain use. What is not recycled back into grow system will be sprouted and sold for consumption locally. When law permits, seed will be sold to other growers for planting. Leaf and flower use. What is not recycled back into grow system will be sold locally as microgreens, baby greens, and mature salad greens. When law permits, clones will be sold to other growers for planting. Fiber use. What is not recycled into system will be used as secondary research in hemp fiber processing methods. Lighting to be tested. Fluorescent 2700 through 6500 Kelvin ranges, high pressure sodium, LED. Mediums to be tested: soil, aquaponic, hydroponic, vermicompost. grow methods: 10 by 20 flats, large flats, plastic pots, fabric pots, vertical grow tubes. Respectfully, I submitted my research report late in March of 2022 because, like, all my homework and stuff was late. Anyway, good day, all. Thank you for including my small contribution to hemp research in New York State. My goal was to get my foot in the door so I could become grandfathered into any cannabis projects that may arise. I held my nursery grower certificate from 2015 to 2019. I learned a lot and complied with all regulations. I had my industrial hemp research partner authorization from February 2018 to January 2022. I learned a lot and complied with all regulations. I have had a paperwork issue in the form of late report submission for the years of 2019, 2020, and 2021. Reports enclosed. I was also asked to have a document notarized and still have yet to do so, but omitted. Said he would not kick me out of the research partnership due to this administrative infraction. I sure appreciate that. I received a notification from New York State Agriculture and Markets that industrial hemp research partners are allowed to apply for adult use grower authorization. I naturally want to step up to this plate. I have concerns that people who don't have resources will be overlooked in this application process. Again, I appeal to New York State to consider the little people. My greenhouse may be tiny and unfinished. I certainly can't be paying some security guard to stand around or a bunch of cameras, but I can stay on the land every night. I can agree to keep my plants in the vegetative state if need be. Please let me successfully apply so I may legally work with cannabis. Please consider a low production capability in the application fee structure also. For example, I paid the same $500 to learn to grow hemp as the big guys, with tens of acres and employees and stuff. It is unfortunate. My interest is in acquiring seeds and selling them, growing seedlings and clones in vegetative state, growing to flower eventually, and possibly food related processing. I work in a kitchen part time now and may be able to access professional equipment. Let us set aside some time to discuss how may apply successfully. Respectfully, 2018 report. Good day, all. No hemp has been grown by myself during the year 2018. Please be advised that I have purchased and currently in process of developing a 0.75 acre property. I am no longer associated with my prior location. Please change my address for both hemp partnership and nursery grower. Nothing further. 2019 report. Good day, all. Development of 0.75 acre land included selectively hand weeding, clearing overgrowth after identifying plant types for nativity, non invasiveness, and desirability. Rocky clay soil remediation began and progressed well by layering straw, hay, leaves, wood chips. This no-till mulching material was fertilized and scratched up by 6 broad-breasted bronze turkeys. I also rake with metal hand rake. I formed large hugelkultur style raised beds which resemble the levels of rice paddies of the hills of China. My land is also on a hill. From my perspective, this helps to level land over time as material builds up and plant root systems grow and reduces nutrient runoff and erosion. I also cleared debris of an old burnt down trailer home. That is to say, I learned what it is like to clean up a disaster with hand tools and turn it into thriving woodland farmland. I shoveled all charred debris and accumulated biomass from the trees over 20 years into another large raised bed. It would be interesting to run a soil test to see what a pile of burnt household construction materials and random objects mixed with composted leaves looks like. It would be interesting to see how hemp uptakes materials from the soil. Due to the location and small size of my land, I would not grow hemp openly in the yard to any obvious degree. Not in 2019 nor 2022. I set up the framework of my 8x8 greenhouse prototype upon an unearthed cement patio for growing purposes. I was able to locate all strains of seed I sought after and mail order without problems. I got O3LH, I got GHA, New York Cherry hemp seed, and ACDC X Auto 2. I sprouted all three strains using wet paper towel under plastic. O3LH seed is among the largest cannabis seed I have ever seen in my life. This very fat and full looking grain seed is very unusual in my opinion. Even the root systems of the sprouted seeds were obviously thicker than the other two strains of seeds. I transferred about 20 young plants to 2-inch net cups. There were seeds that did not germinate. I dumped them into a pile of discarded potting mix in the yard, presuming they were not going to germinate. However, many of them were just dormant for whatever reason, and they germinated later in the season where I dumped them. I could not identify which strain the seedlings were at this point. I picked them out of the yard and potted them in the 8x8 greenhouse area. Inspector, name omitted, came to see my plants when they were about 5 nodes tall. I had more labeling organization problems in the grow area and could no longer guarantee what strain I suspected a plant to be. None of them got beyond 2 foot tall. Out of about 30 seedlings, 4 of them reached this size. This was due to pure neglect, life complications. As the season caused the plants to flower, I called the males. I pinched the flowers away from the remaining female plants and noticed that some went hermaphrodite over time. I never completed the lighting, heating structure of my greenhouse. As the temperature dropped, all my plants died and went to compost. There was never any need for potency testing. My research plan involves feeding hemp to worms, fish, birds, etc., and observing for health and vigor over time against a control group. I started out with red wiggler earthworms in a mixture of composting materials such as cocoa coir, peat moss, sand, vegetable food scraps. This is all well and good for outside or a highly controlled enclosed environment. It did not work out well in an 8x8 semi enclosed greenhouse where I casually threw whatever food scraps I had into the mix. The worms did great, but so did whatever other pests may have been in the scraps. There were tiny dots with legs I could not identify and tiny gnat-looking flies which really ruined the vibe in the grow area. I decided from this point onward to focus on aquaponic and hydroponic grow methods. Dirt is dirty. I'm convinced I have pockets of red wiggler thriving in the yard, even in zone 5, due to heavy mulching. I researched what type of birds to keep. I raised 6 broad-breasted bronze turkeys from hatchlings. I noticed there are wild turkeys living around my land. Aside from the broad breast, which does not allow for natural breeding, these turkeys have been ideal. They thrive outside and love all seasons of weather, which would kill chickens. There is a standard-breasted bronze line of turkeys which may breed naturally. Respectfully, me. 2020 Hemp Report. Good day, all. Development of 0.75 acre land continues. The no-till heavy mulching has resulted in a more workable soil than the previous hard clay. The hugelkultur style raised beds continue to mature and break down to compost. I continue to add straw, hay, leaves, wood chips, etc. I have also added cardboard and paper to the beds. This creates pockets of compost and large thriving worm colonies in the yard. No further progress was made on the 8x8 greenhouse prototype in 2020. I was able to locate all strains of seed I sought after and mail order without problems. Super Cherry F2 and T1. I did not sow any seed in 2020 in the greenhouse or the yard. Seeds that did not germinate in 2019, I dumped them into a pile of discarded potting mix in the yard, presuming they were not going to germinate. However, many of them were just dormant for whatever reason, and they germinated later in the season where I dumped them, 2019. To my surprise, a few of the dormant seeds from 2019 germinated in 2020. I transplanted them to a discrete part of the yard and kept them trimmed back to under 1 foot tall and observed them growing unprotected in nature. I watched to see what plants the rabbits and woodchucks eat and what they leave alone. They leave the hemp alone from what I can see. As the temperature dropped, all my plants died and went to compost. There was never any need for potency testing. My research plan involves feeding hemp to worms, fish, birds, etc., observing for health and vigor over time against a control group. After discontinuing working with worms in the greenhouse due to pest infestation of medium, I researched what fish type to use for aquaponics. I enjoy working with the hobby fish Fancy Guppy Live Bear. They are beautiful and breed well. Unfortunately, they are not cold hardy, and a power outage in the winter will devastate a guppy tank quite effectively, in my experience. I began working with native fish. I kept bait fish, such as green shiners and fathead rosy minnows. I had a few baby bass at one point. They kept well and are hardy enough, but I do not get them to breed. I grew about 20 different aquaponic plant and found native, I think it's called foxtail or hornwort, is what it is, to be most hardy. As a side note, another type of animal that has great potential for research due to their hardiness, lifespan, and reproductive qualities are freshwater scuds and the saltwater amphipods. I had great success keeping these 1/4 to 3/4 inch shrimp-like animals. They can be used to feed fish in aquaponics system. As the winter temperature sets in, I had to discontinue working with the aquariums because my greenhouse was unlighted, unheated, and incomplete again. I lost 2 of the 6 broad-breasted bronze turkeys due to infighting. This breed is known to have aggression. They are highly intelligent and will literally wait for their keepers to leave before attacking each other. I'm convinced they're related to the dinosaurs. Respectfully, 2021 Research Partner Report. Good day, all. Development of 0.75 acre land continues. The no-till heavy mulching has resulted in a more workable soil than the previous hard clay. The hugelkultur style raised beds continued to mature and break down to compost. I moved my 8x8 greenhouse prototype from the cement patio onto the trailer frame and nearly completed the structure. Lighting and heating remain incomplete. I did not purchase any new seed strains in 2021. Seeds that did not germinate in 2019, I dumped them into a pile of discarded bedding mix in the yard, presuming they were not going to germinate. However, many of them were just dormant for whatever reason, and they germinated later in the season where I dumped them in 2019. To my surprise, a few of the dormant seeds from 2019 germinated in 2020. No dormant seeds germinated in this area in 2021. I threw handfuls of remaining seed in 2 discrete parts of the yard. The first location was just thrown on top of existing plant life early in spring season. Wild turkeys came out of nowhere in a group of at least 3 and ate most all of the seed. Apparently, they do have incredible eyesight and love to eat hemp seed. Very important. I've heard before hemp was so overregulated it was an abundant food staple of the old bird keepers and pet shops. Whatever seed remained did not thrive. I presume this is because it was top thrown and never scratched in. The second location I threw seed and scratched in. About 5 hemp plants germinated. I kept them trimmed back to under 1 foot tall and observed them growing unprotected in nature. I watched to see what plants the rabbits and woodchucks eat and what they leave alone. Again, they leave the hemp alone from what I can see. As temperature dropped, all my plants died and went to compost. There was never any need for potency testing. My research plan involves feeding hemp to worms, fish, birds, etc., and observing for health and vigor over time against control group. I did not keep any fish or shrimp in 2021. I lost another 2 of the 6 broad breasted turkeys due to infighting. Now I have a mated pair of feisty, territorial, beautiful little dinosaurs. They can't reproduce naturally due to chest structure, but could crossbreed with the standard chested bronze turkeys, maybe. I am interested in continued work with turkeys, bronze or wild, and native fish. Respectfully, happy 420, y'all.